Frustrated after being closed for nearly 6 months with no indication of when they can reopen. Fox 17's Marisa Oberly spoke with some at a bingo hall in Muskegon to get their thoughts as places like gyms reopen.
We first introduced you to Select Auditorium in June. Back then, the bingo hall expressed concerns being closed for just 3 months would have on its business. Well, it's now been 6, and the owners say those worries just continue to grow. With the third week of March still etched out on its dry erase boards, it's as if time stopped inside Select Auditorium.
No, we have gotten nothing for 6 months.
6 months ago, COVID-19 forced the Muskegon bingo hall to close. But while most industries, like the personal care, fitness, and hospitality, have been able to reopen since then.
The schools are open and the high school sports. And it's like, how is that safer than a bunch of people coming in to play bingo?
The indoor entertainment sector remains closed throughout most of the state.
Frustrated, upset. You know, it's just like it's time. We can open up safely. We've got the walls marked with the 6 foot distance. We've got hand sanitizers all over the place.
Owner Julie Clark says this impacts more than her business.
We were able to save up for a rainy day, but I don't know how much more rain we can take.
Each night, the hall runs games that benefit 7 local organizations. The Humane Society and Animal Rescue of Muskegon County says within the last 20 years, the games helped them raise more than $1 million, allowing them to expand services.
It has been a lifeline for our agency to help us provide our mission to help the unwanted and homeless companion pets here in this county.
Select Auditorium also rents out its kitchen to Melissa Chambeau and her husband. Melissa explaining 6 months of no work is taking a financial toll.
We had to, dip into our savings and max out a few credit cards. I was able to file for unemployment, but as of right now, we still have not received our first payment.
The state says indoor entertainment is allowed in Phase 5 of its My Safe Start plan, but with no indication of when that may be, it looks as if time will continue to stop at the hall.
Every single day, it's no answers to any questions.
We're just waiting for that time that we're ready to go.
Now, we did reach out to Governor Whitmer's office asking why indoor entertainment in the lower half of Michigan is not allowed to reopen at this time. We have not heard back. Reporting in Muskegon, Marisa Oberly, Fox 17 News.
Marisa, thank you. And here is a look tonight at the latest numbers here in Michigan. The state is no longer updating the figures on Sundays, so these are as of yesterday. More than 111,000 cases and more than 6,500 deaths with more than 85,000 recoveries. Well, students who live near or on the campus of Michigan State University have been asked to self-quarantine for a few weeks after more than 340 people affiliated with the school tested positive for COVID. Health officials say a large portion of those cases are associated with big parties and gatherings.
That's the very difficult message that we have to try to figure out how to get across, is that, yeah, we've told you, yep, it may not affect you, but what about the people around you?
Health officials say at least a third of the large gatherings were tied to fraternities and sororities. And the 3 weeks before this surge, the Ingham County Health Department says that only 23 people associated with MSU had tested positive. After much waiting, fans finally got to see the Lions back on the field again today, but unfortunately, it was not a win for the team. The game started off with some players, including Matt Stafford, taking a knee during the national anthem. And in the first quarter with Lions at midfield, Peterson broke free for a big 19-yard gain. The final seconds of the half and tied at 6. DeAndre Swift took it in for his first NFL touchdown, with the Lions up 13-6 at halftime. And towards the end of the fourth quarter, Mitch Trubisky completed a 27-yard touchdown pass, with the extra point also being good. The Bears ended up taking a 27-23 lead, though, and they held on to that for the win. The Lions' next game will be against the Arizona Cardinals next Sunday. You can catch all the action and hopefully a win here on Fox 17. Still ahead, a woman in Metro Detroit becoming the latest victim of vandalism in the community.
It hurts. I'm angry. I want the neighbors and family and kids to know that this sort of thing is happening.
A look at what was recently thrown at her home and what community leaders are saying about other political and racial events that are happening in the area.
Here's a shot taken a couple of days ago in South Haven from Julie Wedge. I like the whole shot, though, with the fences here, the crashing waves, the dark sky, and the birds. Great shot there. We've got some nicer weather coming up. Brighter blue skies, warmer temperatures. It's all good. Your forecast in just a bit.
Thirteen workers have been fired from Hennepin County Medical Center in Minneapolis after officials say they improperly accessed the medical records of George Floyd back in May. Officials say at the time he was listed under a pseudonym, Bronze Tennessee, something that's done in high-profile cases to conceal the patient's identity. Well, the hospital performed an audit and found that 18 people accessed his private health information under that name. 5 of those were for legitimate medical reasons, but 13 workers, including 3 nurses, a lab tech, a social worker, and a paramedic, were all fired after that audit. In a statement, the facility said it does not comment on specific cases to protect patient confidentiality, but said that they make routine audits on patient privacy. A woman in Metro Detroit is the victim of vandalism, and she is not the only one being targeted. Reporter Alan Campbell from our sister station WXYZ has a look at some of those recent incidents.
Vandalism not just happening here in Farmington Hills, but also we've seen acts of hatred and racism in Warren. A black family targeted 3 times this week alone. These incidents appear to stem around politics and activism.
It hurts. I'm angry.
Trisha Beauchene says she found a Gatorade bottle full of urine in Trump 2020 written on the side, thrown into her driveway this past weekend.
So when I looked at it, and I had a brave family member open it and smell it, and because I would not lie about it.
Trisha has many signs in her yard supporting the Black Lives Matter movement and Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden. Some of those have been spray painted. She posted the vandalism on Nextdoor to warn her neighbors.
I want the neighbors and family and kids to know that this sort of thing is happening and that it's wrong.
This isn't the only incident happening in Metro Detroit. In Warren, a family has been targeted 3 times in racist attacks once. A rock was thrown through their front window, graffiti posted on the vehicles, and most recently, a bullet shot into their home right through the Black Lives Matter sign posted in the family's front window.
I am so upset to where there's nothing I can do to comfort my family.
Vice President of Warren City Council Gary Watts says this kind of hatred and racism isn't warranted in the city.
It's not acceptable. We need to find who did this with the vandalism on the home, shot up the home, and get justice brought to them.
Trisha says this hatred and vandalism needs to stop.
It's not a surprise, but it's very disappointing that people would do this. But I'm still not going to stop. I think it's important that we get this message out and that we hopefully can come together as a nation.
That was Alan Campbell reporting. Trisha has filed a report with Farmington Hills Police. As for the incidents in Warren, police are now offering a $3,000 reward for any information that will lead to an arrest in those cases. Still ahead, tens of thousands of crews are still working to put out all those fires out west.
There are 3 ingredients needed for fire. You need a warm climate, you need fuels, and you need ignitions.
A look at where the efforts stand tonight and the health issues, the health alerts rather, now being issued as those fires continue to burn.
Janice, speaking of those California wildfires and those ones all over the West Coast, they are going to be producing some neat sunrises and sunsets here. We'll expand more on that in just a couple of minutes. And also, as you wake up tomorrow morning, we're about 52 degrees with mostly clear skies. Got about 3 really nice days coming up here, and then it's going to start to cool off after that. Your West Michigan forecast comes up next.
As the wildfires continue to burn out west, air quality alerts have now been issued in Oregon, Washington, and California. In the San Francisco Bay Area, officials say that air quality is the worst that they've seen it the entire wildfire season, and that you can start to feel the symptoms pretty quickly. Because of that, they're asking people to stay indoors as much as possible.
This fine particulate matter that's extremely hazardous because you can breathe it deeply into the respiratory system and it can enter the bloodstream and cause a variety of health problems. This is really the longest, by a long shot, stretch of bad air quality we've had in the Bay Area.
Health officials say that those with heart or lung disease are especially sensitive to these conditions. Right now, more than 29,000 firefighters are working to put out about 100 fires across several states. And all those fires have destroyed about 5 million acres of land. Just devastating. Send it over now to Kevin with the first check of our forecast. And those fires, at least some of the haze from those fires will be affecting us up here, Kevin?
It will indeed. You know, when we see the sunrises and the sunsets, Janice, and we see them all in red and orange, those beautiful, vibrant colors, there's a reason for that. Part of it is because of the contaminants from the fires, the smoke and that will make it into our area. But also the shorter wavelengths. Everything has a wavelength. The shorter wavelengths are scattered out, and what's left are the longer wavelengths, so the reds and the oranges. And that's why I think over this week you might see some of those beautiful sunrises and sunsets. Good evening, everybody. I hope your weekend was an enjoyable one. Hey, you know, we can model ocean currents, we can model wind, we can model rain, we can also model smoke. This is a smoke forecast. Everything in green are the smoke from the fires, and this gets caught up in the upper level winds in the jet stream, and the core of it is going to stay up over Canada. But some of this green will work into our area from time to time, and that'll give us those beautiful, vibrant, bright, colorful sunrises and sunsets that you can see even as we go into later in the week here. But that smoke has got to go somewhere. It rises into the atmosphere, and then it eventually moves across the country from west to east. We have an employee that used to work here at Fox 17 that lives just outside of the Bay Area. He posted a picture the other day on Facebook, and he's got soot and ash all over his yard, at the bottom of the pool and everything. So there's something to be said about that as well. I mean, it's just getting on everything. Plus, it goes without saying that story just mentioned, of course, the very, very poor air quality in general for folks as well. Lots of dry weather for us this week. Matter of fact, there's only one chance for a shower, and it's just chancy iffy right now at this point. Lots of sunshine coming in, I think, turning cooler by the time we get into Friday. I think we'll probably fall back into the 60s by that time. And there may be some overnight lows in the 40s over the next several days here as well. Live Doppler radar, it's dry out there. Our current temperatures, we're 54 in Fremont. That's one of the coolest spots. 60 in Grand Rapids, 60 in Kalamazoo and Three Rivers. Most lows will fall into the upper 40s to around the low 50s overnight and into tomorrow morning. Here's clouds and radar movement over the last 6 hours. We had a fair amount of cloud cover around today. We'll scour that out. And as we do, we'll see clear skies as we head through the overnight hours, and that will allow us to cool to around 50, 52 degrees. Tomorrow, nice day, mostly sunny, pleasant, highs around 70. We'll have an east-northeast wind at about 5 to 10 miles per hour. If you're going out on Lake Michigan, not a bad day. There's no small craft advisories, waves running about a foot or so. Here are your Lake Michigan water temperatures, still in the mid-60s, and there's no beach hazard risk out there, so that's good news as well.